Hey everybody, welcome to the Cow Emporium. Today we're making a fermented tomato salsa. For this recipe, you'll need a sterile jar, 4 medium tomatoes, 3 garlic cloves, 1 small onion, a hot pepper if you like, 2 tablespoons of lime juice, and 2 tablespoons of salt. I have purposely omitted the fact that you could put cilantro in there, but you're welcome to do it if you'd like. First, I just take part of an onion that I have because, the onion was pretty big and we just need a small onion. So I slice the onion apart and then make it tiny. While I'm trying to corral these garlic cloves that seem to be bouncing all over while I'm chopping them, I chop them pretty fine. Nobody wants a giant piece of garlic in their mouth. Now it's time to slice the tomatoes. Those are the size of the tomatoes that I used, and I used 4 of them. The recipe does say that you can de-seed the tomatoes if you'd like to, but I haven't noticed that the seeds in the tomatoes are a problem in the salsa. So I cut them up finely. Sorry, not really finely, just kind of chunky, I guess. And once all the tomatoes are chopped, I put everything into a bowl. To this recipe, you add 2 tablespoons of lime juice. If you have a fresh lime, go ahead and squeeze 2 tablespoons of that juice. Also in the recipe, if you had whey, you could use 1 teaspoon of whey or 1 teaspoon of salt and some whey to the recipe. However, I do not have any whey on hand at this time as it's been some time since we milked the cow. So instead, you can use 2 teaspoons of pickling salt. Please make sure it's pickling salt or some other salt that is not iodized. There's my sterile jar. So I'm going to be packing this jar with all of the salsa that I have prepared today. We're going to speed it up because we know how that's supposed to look. Zoom, zoom. You want to make sure that you pack the contents of the jar down, and you'll notice that there's already some liquid forming. The salt is doing its job at pulling out the moisture from the vegetables that I put in there. Now I have these 2 funny half-round pieces, and I cut those out of just a plastic cutting board. You want to make sure that you do not put the side down that has any texture, for air might get trapped under there. While these don't fit perfectly, they fit well enough that it holds down the contents of what's in the jar. I'm just carefully pushing down some of the salsa that has decided to pop up and float amongst the water that's already forming. I'm going to show you. Here's a piece of onion that's floating. It's persistent. It won't stay down. And I also want to show you that in the jar I have used a glass weight. These are the same glass weights that I used for my other fermenting projects. They work really good. And that's a ball lid. It has a fermenting hole on the top of it, so any of the gases that build up in there are allowed to escape. Now it's time for it to sit. Okay, so this is day 3 for the fermented salsa that we made. As you can see, the liquid on top is nice and clear. This is ready for the fridge now and ready for fresh eating.